Bizarre Brain Comics. Oh, hello, my comic book friends, and welcome to Bizarre Brain Comics. I'm Gary, your host. And this is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. Well, this is the spooky month of October leading up to Halloween. I figure what would be more appropriate than than this little thing, spooky, and it's about Halloween. This is a religious tract from Jack Chick Ministries. They do the little comic book religious tracts, and have hundreds of them, I think. Jack Chick has he passed away several years ago, but he started in the late 50s or early 60s doing religious tracts. He prior to that, and he was, for most of the tracts up to a certain point, he both wrote and drew them. Then he wrote them and had one of his hired artists do the artwork on some of them in later years. And I've talked about him before. I've never done one specifically on the tracts. I have shown them, but I've never done an in-depth on them. But I have done, because along in the 70s, he started a series of regular comic book sized comics, like these right here. And I've done some in-depth on those. And they have some beautiful artwork in those. But he did, Jack Chick even did worked on, I can't remember what the comic strip was now, but for a time in the 50s he worked on a newspaper comic strip. So he's a legitimate cartoonist, and you can see it, although his style is somewhat what one you might think of now as in the vein of the underground, is just the artistic style, but not the storytelling, obviously. So, and this is a tract from 2013, which was just a few years before he passed away. And it may actually go back farther than that. I don't know. And this is specifically about Halloween. So we'll take a look. Just take a brief look. Here we see this little boy looking out the window. He's visiting the boy's name is Sam. He is visiting his Aunt Sarah, and he sees the neighbor doing something out in the yard, and he says, "Oh, Mr. Hill, he gets a little spooky this time of year. He's decorating his house and yard for the upcoming Halloween holiday, and every year he turns his house into a haunted house." So Sam goes out, meets the old man, and the old fella, the neighbor man, and he says he's visiting his aunt, and the kid, he's interested and he wants to help. Well, the guy is setting stuff up out in front. There's a giant fake spider and jack-o'-lanterns and stuff. And then later on Halloween, at the boy's heckling, his aunt takes him out trick-or-treating. But if you notice, he's out trick-or-treating, but he apparently was not allowed to wear a costume. But he was out trick-or-treating, and he wants to go see the old man, because the old man says, "You coming to my haunted house on Halloween, right?" He says, "I guess." "That's no answer. If you don't have the guts, you're a little yellow-bellied coward. I gotta go." So he's afraid of being called a coward. He goes, so he talks his aunt into letting him go into the haunted house, even though he was scared of being scared. There's the jack-o'-lantern from the cover out in front. It's the spooky guy. Comes in and he says, "You know whose birthday this is?" He goes, "No, it's the devil's birthday." Ha 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 ha. Ooh. And he goes in, and there's other little spooky things, and finally he gets to the middle of the house where the old man was dressed up in costume as the devil. Notice here beside him is a mannequin of Beetlejuice. And he goes, said, "Oh, good for you. You've got guts, kid. Grab some candy on the way out. Look out for the snake." And he's got a little fake snake down here. And he comes out and goes, "Oh, I'm glad to see you, Aunt Sarah. Did you enjoy it, sir?" "No, it was awful. I didn't know Halloween was the devil's birthday." And it says, "It isn't, Sam, but some witches might think it is." Now this is they are always on these that Halloween is the devil's birthday. Nobody believes that Halloween is the devil's birthday, and especially not witches, because the people they call witches, and some who actually do call them, refer to themselves as witches, like now, Wiccans, like Wiccans or other pagans, they don't believe in the devil. So he's not part of their mythos. So they don't think it's the devil's birthday. But that's what stupid stuff. I don't know how many times I've seen them say something about them saying it's the devil's birthday when it's not. So she goes home and he's asking all these questions, and she starts. Now she really terrorizes him, and he tells about her religion's version of interpretation of Satan and the devil, and talks about the horrors of crucifixion, and frightens him to death with stories of going to hell with the devil, and just terrorizes him into becoming her brand of Christian. And then a couple days later, they're going to church. He asks the neighbor guy if he will come to church with him. Says, "Nah, are you nuts?" But then he uses the same tactic that the old man did for him to get him into the haunted house. And he says, "What, are you afraid to go?" He says, "No, I ain't afraid." So I'll be right there. He goes with him, but he actually is afraid for some reason, and says, "Who are you calling a coward? Nobody talks to me like that. Move over. I'm coming with you." So he goes and he gets in there. The place is fairly crowded, but they find a seat, and then they listen to the preacher's sermon, and it's basically telling the same stuff that his Aunt Sarah told Sam, and it's just like Sam. It scares him into running up and becoming their brand of Christian. And then, of course, it's got a whole bunch of references and stuff to the Bible and stuff. Now, it's a fun little tract if you don't take it too seriously. Now, what's not evident in this one is that the Jack Chick organization is very anti-Catholic, and they make no bones about it. They, in various other tracts, comic books, and as well as the regular books that they publish, make no bones about anti-Catholicism, and sometimes there seems to be some implied anti-Semitism too. But I'm not sure. I've never seen it come right out and be overtly anti-Semitic. So that just might be an interpretation. But I thought that would be very appropriate for the spooky season of Halloween. Now, I've never done a tract before, but I've done these books. Now, there are other comic book channels out there who have shown some of the tracts briefly, as in maybe even some of these comics, and various other religious comics, and I've done episodes on other religious comics. I don't think I've ever seen anyone else go into depth on the big regular sized comic books before. There and some other channels upon occasion. There's like Owen Morgan has in recent months on his otherwise unrelated channel has gone through many of the Chick tracts, and seems to have been unaware of these comics. And another otherwise unrelated channel is Ms. Lemon. That's capital M, small s, capital Lemon. Because there are other Ms. Lemons in various forms out there, but it's all in one word, if I remember correctly. And she has been going through deeply into some of the readings of the Chick tracts. So that's how all I wanted to share with you, because other than that, I don't go into depth on the theology. I'm just looking at it as from the standpoint of a comic book. And so I want to thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe, leave your comments down below. Tell me, are you familiar with the Chick tracts? I think just about everybody is. You can get them everywhere, or at least I used to find them everywhere. I haven't been anywhere where I've seen them for free anywhere. They encourage some people to buy bunches of these tracts and hand them out to trick-or-treaters instead of or with candy and stuff like that. So I want to again thank you for joining me. Please like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think of the Chick tracts, or if you remember any of the Chick comics, or any of those things. Let me know in the comments down below. And remember, comics are art.